and welcome to the webinar today on importance of workspace analytics in the new normal. This is brought to you by Citrix. My name is Kalpana Singhal, Editor-in-Chief CXO TV, and I'm going to be a moderator today. Before I introduce you to the presenter, I just want to take a moment to set context for workspace analytics requirement in new remote world. As we are aware that COVID-19 pandemic has changed how workplaces function and heavily underscored the ability of enterprises to support an elastic workforce's need to collaborate remotely. As businesses step into the post-pandemic future, they need to find a balance between what worked before and what needs to happen to succeed in the new normal. The burning question today is how and what we can learn from the transition to this new normal. Hence, we have invited Nitin Bansal, Lead System Engineer, Citrix Systems, to deep dives into workplace analytics and can help enterprises gain insights into change in collaboration patterns, especially in the present scenario, and how they can leverage it to get their remote workforce to remain productive and maintain business process continuity. Hello, Nitin.
Hi, Kalpana. Thank you for the introduction, and I welcome all the guests on this webinar.
Let's start with the first question, Nitin. The things have drastically changed the way organizations function. Can you elaborate on how workplace analytics can help enterprises gain insights into changes in collaboration patterns and employee productivity?
Sure, definitely, Kalpana. So let me just take a step back and to our esteemed audience, let me just introduce to the concept of analytics and where does it stem from. So when you if you are a Citrix customer or a Citrix user or somebody who utilizes Citrix to deliver business critical applications, you would be familiar with Workspace. Workspace is the bigger basket where all the offerings come in, and you would see here virtual apps and desktops, endpoint management. You would see secure access. The key piece in the Workspace is the visibility and analytics. So it is a portion that connects to the workspace and provides the visibility and analytics. Now, to go a little deeper as to what does it do. So Citrix Citrix Analytics is tied to the Citrix Workspace, where it focuses on the security, improvement of the user experience, and enhancing the productivity. It is a system that captures metadata from a variety of sources and then provides a very comprehensive visibility, autonomous action, and ability to continuously assess risk and provide the mitigation for it. It has a very deep and powerful ML-based analytics engine running under the hood, which looks at the data that is collected from multiple sources and then does the correlation aggregation across all of them to provide that visibility. And it doesn't stop at that. It goes a step further, whereby automated actions can be configured by the team to ensure that all of these actions, which are anomalous, risky, or not required, can be automatically worked upon. So to expand a little bit on this, we have analytics that take care of three important parts. First is the security, second is the performance, and third is the productivity. Security focuses on all the risk elements that might appear as users connect to the work. Users logging in from unknown unmanaged devices, unknown and risky networks, and all those indicators where the connection could pose threat to the environment. The second part is performance, where the administrator needs to gauge the performance of the user experience. It wants that very, very deep quantitative data, not just data, in fact, the direct inference, which tells what is the reason behind that or an average performance that user is seeing. Third is the productivity, which ties into more of the operational part, which is about consumption patterns, which is about how much of consumption of an application or a resource is being done. The analytics that cover security, performance, and productivity, it spans applications, users, and networks. So analytics is not stopping at just user behavior or at an application behavior. It's actually going much deeper and much wider to collect all the information it needs to do that correlation and aggregation, and then provide you the analysis. The backend from where the sources, the data is collected, are the offerings within the workspace. You could see the virtual apps and desktops, endpoint management, content collaboration, and the networking as well. All of this is combined together very well within our products, and then they are gelled into the offerings that you take from the Citrix. To go a little step further, if there are some few technical folks in the webinar, just for their explanation, what you see on the left side is all the sources from where the metadata is being collected. Let me just touch upon a little bit on this, why I called metadata. We understand that we, as an OEM, we should not collect any data from the corporate. This is against compliance, and we adhere to that. What we collect is the interaction of the user. When did the user log in? Which device did the user logged in from? What was his location? Which applications did he click on? How much time did he spend on work? What are his common areas, common networks from which he connects to? So the behavioral patterns of the users, the devices, and the application interactions is what would be collected from the offerings that are listed on the left-hand side. You're using your mobile device. You are using your laptops, you're using your home PC. Are you connecting from home? Are you connecting from a branch? These are the points that we would collect, which are metadata about the overall environment. And then that data is fed into the analytics engine, which is sitting on the Citrix cloud. It's consistently capturing that data, analyzing that data, and then provides you the visibility to further take actions. Common actions. Do you want to revoke user access? Do you want to disable a particular application? Do you want to block a certain activity that's happening? You want to disable a malicious connection? A lot of these things which are autonomous in nature. Now, what this slide shows, and rather seeks to depict, is that Citrix Analytics is not a standalone solution. It's a very well deep integrated with the ecosystem. Our motive is to ensure that while we create best of the breed in the analytics should be able to take feed from the partner ecosystem, our biggest partner being Microsoft, and then feed it into other solutions, so that if customers had made some investments into other offerings, it should be able to reflect in those as well. So I'll take Kalpana back to you. This defines what we do with analytics, and we can go ahead.
We have several workplace analytics tools available from various vendors. Can you brief us, give us a brief comparison?
Right. So the workspace analytics tools that we have today, they are mostly focused on variety of the tasks that are done across network, across multiple devices, and they are general in their approach. And I would include some of these SIEM systems, source systems, and many others without taking the vendor names. What they really do, they generalize the approach. However, when we look at the Citrix virtualization and the stack of the workspace, there is a lot of proprietary stuff they're running. The typical generalized systems are not able to get the visibility. They're not able to look at the exact problem. They're not able to correlate that data with what they have on Citrix. So even if you connect a SIEM, SOAR, or any third-party analytics, you will only get a portion of the picture, which might misdirect you into the wrong area of troubleshooting. What you see on the screen right now is a very exhaustive study done by IBM and Ponemon Institute, and you will find similar other studies across the world, which is about, in this the work style that we are into, and as far as we can foresee, we will be working from remote locations for a longer time. Now, the victim's endpoint device, from which he's working at home becomes a conduit for an easy hack. The number of breaches that have increased in India is almost 300% in last 1 year itself. And the major cause of breaches is nothing but the ease with which the hackers can now gain entry into the enterprise via the endpoint device. The slide shows you an interesting fact. 32% of the breaches happen with human error. Phishing, which is a social attack, is again which is nothing but an attack instigated via email, is again sent to the end user device. Ransomware, again, attack on the end user device, the lost device or the compromised device. So what you're seeing here is that there is a lot of focus of security on the endpoint devices and how users work from home remotely. Now, combining this with the poll that we just saw, what you could see that there are certain areas, or should I say countries in the world, from where if there is a connection detected, it is bound to be malicious. An India user cannot have a connection coming from North Korea. It cannot have coming from another country. It has to come from India. Now, what are the tools at your disposal in order to detect that or to prevent that? The networking tools can never detect it. It needs a lot of threat intelligence to get that detected. Networking is just an IP which can be, played around, and I don't want to go into that conversation here. But the only way is that you deal this with the sophisticated technology with which analytics comes with. The security analytics piece comes with geofencing mechanism, which keeps a very strong track of every originated connection and combines it with the threat intelligence and gets to know that where is the connection actually originating from. So the idea is that we give you a security with a system which is consistently, proactively watching what is happening in the environment. And you don't have to download a log, you don't have to create a report, you don't have to log in. The system is auto-correcting. It's gonna take an action, an evasive action, an automated action, which will prevent and contain the entire risk that may happen. Right. Back to you, Kalpana.
Yeah. So can you give few use cases where Citrix Analytics delivers over conventional tools?
Yeah, let me go ahead with that. I just mentioned about the continuous assessment, risk mitigation, and few other scenarios. Typically, how the tools that have come into picture and how they have evolved over a period of time, most of these are reactive. They don't prevent anything from happening. The preventive controls, they pretty much fall into 2 or 3 categories. In a technical terms, we call them intrusion detection systems and intrusion prevention systems and UTM. But they are limited to the networking side of things. But when we add the virtualization layer, the complexity of detecting those somehow goes a little too high for these tools to work on. And that's where you have to bring in something like analytics. What it does is that it takes 2 approaches in order to detect the anything that is malicious or risky. First of all, it continues to watch the user behavior and builds a profile on that. So anomalous behavior or a sudden changes behavior, which raises the alert. Second is the profile and the policies that you set as an administrator, because you are the administrator, you know that this is my environment and I can whitelist the actions. So while it continues to watch based on the threat intelligence and few other metrics, what you feed into the system also adds on top of that. So the 0-day attacks and the known attacks are well covered with this model, which typically from conventional tools, it's very difficult to cover. So this is a generic use case that I talked about. Let me go ahead and talk about a specific one. So compromised credentials, weak password, and user logging in from an unknown location. What the security analytics would do is will continuously, as I mentioned, it will continuously keep a track of users' profile. it will keep watching what is going on. Take an example of the failure of authentication more than 2 or 3 times. Now, if the user is not able to successfully log in from 3 attempts, high chance that somebody is trying a brute force attack. Somebody has gone ahead with the credential stuffing and now he's trying his luck out. Now, would you like the system to automatically revoke and limit the access for that user so that it does not pose a risk to the environment? And that is what analytics would do. So alongside security, there are many other use cases along performance. I can talk about one example in performance, and this could be connected to the earlier poll. When you have a user performance issue in a workspace, what all do you check? You check network, you check compute, you check bandwidth, you check end user side, and so many other things. Now, checking that in a big, large environment or a medium-sized environment could be a very difficult task because the teams are siloed. There is a network team, there is a infrastructure team, there is a security team, there is an ops team, and all of them might own different pieces of these layers. Analytics will take the metadata for all actions, correlate across all these layers, and will present you with the answer. Is it because of the VM being overlaid? It is because of the application actually that's not performing well? Is it the user end metrics? And so on. So there could be multiple other use cases that can be combined. This is a list whereby we track the risk indicators for the user. It is not a exhaustive list, but it's an indicative list. Then the number of indicators we keep adding them every day, and you have a lot of ability to fine-tune the autonomous actions that the system might take. Back to you, Kalpana.
Yeah, that's quite interesting. And what is the difference between workplace analytics for on-premise deployments and cloud deployments?
Great question. So this question can be answered specifically for the customers who have been our customers for last 10, 15 years, and we thank them for their patronage. And today is the world where Citrix is going ahead with the cloud-first approach. Now, in both these approaches, customers would obviously ask the question, look, I'm an on-prem customer and I'm a cloud customer. Where do I fit with analytics? Citrix understood this very early in the game, and it actually created the analytics for both the customers, which means there is a central system which can extract metadata from the cloud and from the on-prem customer. So irrespective of whichever deployment you are today rolling out, the analytics can deliver you the same results with the same benefits. All you need to do is plug in the solution. Now remember, Citrix Analytics is a cloud delivered solution. It is not an on-prem solution. So for on-prem customers, you will have to open certain ports and enable certain services for analytics to capture that metadata. For the cloud customers, it would be a lot more convenient because the control plane is on the cloud itself. So this is going to be a very, very beneficial feature for both. I would encourage both the customers to go ahead and look into this service. Citrix Cloud customers can actually enable the trial automatically within their control plane for a while to see the benefits of this. For the on-prem customers, I would recommend that they can reach out to the sales folks or the Citrix champion that they know or the partner that they're working with to get it enabled. In the end, irrespective of how your deployment is, what your roadmap is, whether it is continue to be on-prem, on cloud, hybrid, the Citrix Analytics is designed to cater to both of you. The data sources is what matters. And as I said, the on-premise data resources need to be connected to the cloud. All right, back to you, Kalpana.
Yeah, perfect. So can you explain a bit more on security analytics?
Sure, security. And to be honest, this is the conversation which we have most frequently among the overall analytics portfolio. Citrix, and not just security, but today customers upfront talk about zero trust network, zero trust access. That has become pretty central to our conversations of security. And a lot of our customers who have been using our products for the last 12 years now want to enable zero trust. And that's where we specialize in. The moment you add element of security analytics to your existing workspace deployment, your ability to deliver that zero trust access to your organization just happens. By the term of it, zero trust access, what it really means is that it does not trust a user or the device on the basis of their location or credentials. In fact, it trusts only after verifying the user and the device and other attributes. And that's what Citrix Analytics can do, because it consistently is tracking everything. Before even the user joins in, there is a profile made for the user which tells that this user must have these attributes which are with which it's going to be logging. And these are the behaviors and the interaction that are most common in last 30 or 45 days to draw that pattern. So not across just the user, but their application interaction, their interaction with the data as to how many files they download, what do they copy, what do they print, all that is very proactively and deeply watched by security analytics to know that if there is an anomaly, if there is a deviation, or if there is a change in the regular behavior. The sophistication really comes from the machine learning algorithm that we have built in. The artificial intelligence looks at that huge data set that it captures from each user. So you can imagine for 1,000 user or a 500 user deployment, that enormous data set that we are collecting with every interaction, the AI is going to look into it, draw patterns, and raise flag on all such events which violate the principle of the profile. The moment it's violated, it becomes an event, and based on the severity, it can be just notified to the user and the administrator, or it can go to an extent of highest severity where the user access is revoked automatically, and he will have to dial into his organization support to get the access back in. All the data, if you need in order for compliance, for audit, is captured into the same system. You can download reports, you can customize reports, and there is a very, very detailed and a deep dive dashboard at your disposal. You actually know that what really happened, what was the reason, what action was taken, and what was the impact of that action. So security analytics continues to be our foremost conversation area the moment we see that security teams are interested in it. In fact, before that, we use this as a way to tell that Citrix is way ahead of the game rather than just looking, sitting back and looking at what could be done. So descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, prescriptive. It covers all the 4 pillars in terms of security. So description of what happened, diagnosing how it happened, predicting what may happen, and prescriptive and what action to be taken. So what essentially we are doing here is when we collect the metadata from our offerings, it is going to match each user interaction with his generalized profile. And the moment there is a violation, there is an anomaly behavior detection, or there is a time-based violation, it is going to place that user into the 3 categories: low risk, medium risk, and high risk. The actions can be taken on based of the bucket that they are put in. A high risk user is something that you would like to revoke immediately. Consider it a connection coming from a country which is not in good terms with the rest of the world. So you would like to disconnect that, revoke the connection immediately so that you know that you're already safe. A low user is somebody who just accidentally failed the authentication 3 times. He might need to reset a password. So we keep that buckets ready, automatically created, and then you as an administrator can choose to go ahead with the default actions that we have put in or modify as per your organization's compliance. All right. So back to you, Kalpana.
Yeah. So what all does performance analytics apply to?
Performance analytics has always been on top of our mind, given that when the productivity questions started becoming very important last year. Users working from home, more and more cloud adoption, SaaS adoption, the way deployments were getting scaled up, this question became very, very pertinent. That, earlier, because everything was in data center, people were coming to the office, tracking the performance was much easier. And in fact, not just tracking, controlling and getting a root cause. But now it's not as simple as that. User might be working from a tier 2, tier 3 city on a 4G dongle, and then we don't know what's going to happen. So that is the answer that we kept in that's the stage that we kept in mind and designed performance analytics. The idea behind performance analytics is to capture application, user, network, infrastructure all together in one bucket and do the correlation. If there is a performance issue, which is the factor that's dominating it? The metrics that it generates are very quantifiable. We don't give you a qualitative answer. We give you a quantitative answer, which is very much in numbers. How are we quantifying experience? What are the measurements that we are taking? What are the threshold levels that we are keeping? How we are calculating those thresholds? All that is brought, configured, and defined on the dashboard itself. This is the, just a display. If you see on the screen, you are seeing here user experience score. 650 users are the total number of users, in which 50 are having poor experience and 100 are having the excellent experience. Now, what it's plotting those users is also against the time frame. When and where these users were and what time were they logging in. Were those high peak times? Are those time frames matching with an application downtime issue? What was that, and what is that got to do something when there was a maintenance being done on the application? So it provides you a very quantitative data that can be used to track what is happening and then take action on what is wrong. So it isolates users and apps based on the experience indicators, gives you end-to-end visibility. And when I say end-to-end, we are talking right from user's device to his internet connection, to your bandwidth, to the data center network, and back to the hypervisor and the VM performance. So all the 9 factors which today come into the picture, the moment there is a performance or a productivity issue being called for, we have defined all of them to ensure. We have gone step ahead for our very large scale enterprise customers, which can have very, very complex deployments, multi-sites, multi-location, very high geographical spread of the resource locations. Example, some of the workloads could be sitting in Bangalore in a building, but some of them could be sitting in AWS in Hong Kong, and a bit of that could be sitting on Azure in Canada. So very easy for us to capture all that data across different sites and across location and across clouds and aggregate it. Also, if you have set up different sites for each business vertical or a unit, we give you a aggregated multi-site report as well, and the features related to that. We give you every bit of data that points you in the right direction. What are the 4 core factors that we are really calculating the performance? What are the 4 major factors on the basis of which the performance is being calculated? Latency, highest point, especially in today's world when users are working from tier 2, tier 3 cities. Example, a user, before pandemic was in Chennai and was coming to the office every day. And then after pandemic, he's now chosen to go back to his city. And for example, let's say he's gone back to Sikkim. Now, while the latencies may not be great because of the physical distance, but because of the network connection, the quality of it, the latency might go up and high. So you would like the system to track it continuously. And if that is going up and down, you would like to know. Of course, we cannot control the latency that user is experiencing because of the internet performance, But if the user calls, you would have the quantifiable data to say, look, this is the reason you are experiencing the performance. Would you mind changing to another network connection or internet connection? Can you just move around and you could see that if you get a better 4G signal? So you have the proof point where you can converse with the user rather than hitting in the dark. Second is logon duration. User clicks on an application and it takes a while to load. Now, that is not a good sign. And there are 3 or 4 reasons behind when that happens. It could be as simple as that the application itself is busy. The VM load is pretty high. What if there are users who are using it in an intensive manner? So more and more, it could be even related to the GPO, the group policy objects that are stalling the launch of application quickly. So more and more factors that you can think of, they're already added into the performance analytics. Fourth is failure. I click on the application, cannot start application. The application cannot be started because of so and so reason. So that is added into that. And again, that could be the failure could be reason because of the licensing, could be because of the number of instances that you chose to publish. It could be due to actual failure on the VM. All that is accounted into it. Last one is reconnection. User working on the virtual desktop or a virtual application, and the window just blanks out. It just pops away, or it's frozen, and it says reconnecting, and it takes about 90 seconds to connect back and user to resume. Now that's not something that user would like. So that is also taken into account. And while capturing all these 4 reasons and hundreds of other reasons which are lying underneath, we calculate the user experience based on poor, fair, and excellent. And then once you know that what is the core reason for a substantial number of poor experience users, with a single change, you actually remove that root cause, and those poor users, user experiencing poor, sorry for my language, those users who are experiencing poor, poor connection are automatically brought into the fair or excellent arena. So this is how performance analytics works and continues to deliver. We have seen a great upsurge in the performance analytics adoption since the remote work, and we estimate that more and more customers would want to connect to the system to get more and more of intelligence for the productivity. Back to you, Kalpana.
Absolutely, yeah. So what should be the next steps for customers looking to evaluate workplace analytics?
Right. So when you are today, you are a user of Citrix Workspace, I would recommend that the first step could be to just catch hold of anybody you know from Citrix. You can call in support, you can call in partners, you can call in any Citrix champion you can call any architect, engineer, or a sales folks. That's the easiest way to reach out, because then they can do a very, very customized, purposeful demo for you so that you know what we are talking about. If you want to really experience it yourself, the option is extremely easy for our cloud customers. They just go into the analytics tab, click on the trial, and automatically the trial is activated for a certain period, and you automatically start getting a production level information for you to action upon. And you can then contact sales or the engineers again to give you insights on some of those. For the on-premise customers, I would highly recommend that you reach out to the Citrix champions, because there are for certain points where the Citrix cloud would come in, and based on your compliance, based on your ability to connect to cloud, it's better to have that conversation. However, once you approve that cloud is okay, the benefits and the features apply to you in identical manner. Now, before I go ahead, I wanted to just give you a few key takeaways. If you are thinking on zero trust access lines, without Citrix Analytics, it is almost impossible to achieve. I might be making a very bold statement, but because I have an experience of working with over 1,000 customers in India across all sorts of enterprise, whether it's manufacturing, banking, NBFCs, services, or ITS, or any of them, the zero trust access without using analytics becomes almost impossible. Second thing is unification. Today, you might try to do the same thing by combining 4 or 5 different vendor tools, which will not provide you a comprehensive visibility and autonomous action. You will again go back into the same spiral of looking into the logs and reports, and the objective of making it all automated will get defeated. Lastly, the risk mitigation capability of analytics is unparalleled. Try it for yourself, and then you will see that how quickly it proactively detects everything that you throw at it. And then, based on the definition, it takes action as well.
Most of our collaboration happens on Office 365 and MS Teams. What is it which makes Citrix Analytics a better product for our environment in comparison to Microsoft?
I'm sure you are aware, Citrix and Microsoft have been the biggest industry partnership for more than 25 years. Now, what's the impact of that partnership happening is that everything that we develop or they develop is happening is in a very jointed and in a very collaborative manner. So what you would see is that the moment you bring in Microsoft Office in, Teams into the Citrix environment, you get very, very dedicated data towards that. Example, I just quote you an example, may not be directly related to analytics. Citrix Workspace was the first vendor to deliver Citrix Microsoft Teams from a VDI platform. Even the WVD took 3 months to bring Teams integration. We were the first one. That's the kind of engineering collaboration that you would see. Today, we are working with Microsoft Analytics to capture the data and reflect the data back to them. So the moment you're talking Office 365, that metadata is getting collected very, very granularly and then projected back onto the security graph and so on. So that's my answer. And I think the best way is to call the Citrix champion, and he would demonstrate it as well.
What is the minimum employee size suitable for Citrix Analytics solution?
The minimum is 25 users. All you need is 25 users. And now the price comparison, I would request you to reach out to Citrix Sales or log a query on citrix.com. I'm sure the team will provide you the cost. In my understanding, the cost of analytics is very minimal. It is not a new SKU or a new completely a new setup that you're providing. You're just giving the fee, or the you're just paying for the service that you're taking for the monitoring, visibility, and the analytics purpose.
Is there a demo version available to test this solution for a month or so?
For Citrix Cloud customers, yes, they can go onto their control plane, log in there, citrix.cloud.com, log in, and in there you will find an analytics tile, and it will give you the option of enabling trial. So you can do that. For the on-premise customers, they would need to connect to a Citrix guy to make it work.
Right. So last but not the least, what message you would like to give to our audience, Nitin?
The simple message is that when we look at digital transformation, modernization, moving a step ahead, increasing the user productivity, making IT services more of a services delivery rather than infrastructure management, this is where rubber meets the road. This is where your IT team, instead of troubleshooting, starts to focus on service delivery. This is where the support tickets in fact, they get solved and corrected before they appear as support tickets. So your system becomes a lot more automated, you become much more efficient, and your business begins to reap in awards as the users begin to become more productive. So that's my bit. So feel free to reach out to us. Do look into analytics. It's a win-win option, and we'll be happy to help you in any of the specific use cases.
Thank you, Nitin. It was a complete pleasure interacting with you, and I'm sure the insights shared by you today will be really useful for our audience, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Please follow #CXOTV and stay tuned to our social media channels for more updates. Stay safe and take care. Thank you.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.